He started his career on Wall Street at the ripe age of 17. He's predicted every major market move over the last 15 years. In July of 2007, he said that Wall Street banks were on the verge of collapse. A year later, Lehman Brothers went bankrupt, and we saw the biggest single-day crash in Dow Jones history. 7 years later, in October 15th of 2014, he called the bottom of the stock market to the exact minute when he sent a message to his followers saying, "Position yourself for an intermediate-term bullish rebound." Sure enough, the market shot straight up immediately after he made the announcement, and his followers had the chance to make a fortune. And that brings us to today. Chris Rowe, one of the most successful Wall Street advisors in America, who became a millionaire by the age of 25, is stepping forward today to make the biggest call of his professional career. According to Rowe, we are about to experience the greatest tech boom in stock market history, even bigger than the first one in the late 1990s. Why should you pay attention to Chris Rowe's latest big prediction? For one simple reason. He has one of the best track records in America when it comes to spotting the massive stock market moves before they happen. Consider, he bought Amazon in 1997 for himself and his Wall Street clients and made a 2,100% return in under 2 years, turning every $10,000 into $220,000. More recently, he called the 2020 stock market crash when he sent out an alert to his followers on December 30th, 2019, saying, "The market is clearly overbought, so I'm publishing a day early to get the word out to start hedging your positions." Just 2 months later, we saw the fastest fall in global stock markets in history and the most devastating crash since the Wall Street crash of 1929. And millions of investors lost 40% of their retirement in a matter of weeks. There's probably not another investor in the world who can make these claims because of his ability to predict and profit off of massive stock market events. He became a stock market multimillionaire by the time he turned 25. Along the way, Rowe purchased for his clients stocks with some of the biggest and fastest gains in stock market history. Qualcomm, 2,600% gain in under 12 months, turning every $10,000 into $270,000. GLW Corning, when it was trading for just $8 a share, 2 years later, it skyrocketed to $113, turning every $10,000 into $141,200. And Taser, 7,500% gain in 1 year, turning every $10,000 invested into $760,000. Chris Rowe's track record is astonishing, and it's why it's so important that you take the next few minutes to hear about the huge event Rowe says is about to take place. Because, according to him, the convergence of 3 economic triggers will cause the technology sector of the stock market to skyrocket, just like it did during the 1990s. In fact, it's already happening. At this moment, wealthy investors are privately plowing more than $108.5 billion to reap the rewards. And now is the time to get in before it's too late, and this special event disappears again for decades to come. CNBC says investors pile into stocks, seeing a generational buying moment. Multimillionaire Jim Cramer and former hedge fund manager says this is one of the greatest wealth transfers in history. MarketWatch says this year is lining up exactly like the 2000 dot-com boom. A true once-in-a-lifetime moment to collect the biggest gains you may ever see in the stock market. Even better, just for watching today's broadcast, you will also discover the exact stock name and ticker symbol of one of Chris's biggest buy alerts. One that he believes will soar as we come to the final stage of this tech boom. He'll give you this information 100% free in the next few minutes. All you have to do is stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Chris Rowe, and I want to thank you for joining me with this special broadcast. Your timing couldn't be better, because today you're going to get the inside scoop on the biggest stock market event in the last 20 years. Now, I know that's a big claim, but you'll see we're at a critical moment in American history, and it's important that you understand what's taking place. Despite the recent coronavirus pandemic and all the news coverage about political crises and the trade war with China, behind the scenes, a massive wealth shift is happening in technology stocks that I believe will mint more millionaires than any time in American history. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ, which holds 2,500 of the world's most valuable technology stocks. The NASDAQ has climbed 73%, almost 3/4 increase in its value. Absolutely unheard of. We've never seen the tech market move this fast before. But as you'll soon see, this is just the beginning. Thanks to the convergence of 3 important economic triggers, which you'll discover today, certain tech stocks will skyrocket just like they did during the dot-com boom in the 1990s. And as big media continues to only report mass hysteria, fear, and mixed messages, millions of deceived and lied to Americans may lose out on the biggest money opportunity of the century. But I don't want you to just take my word for it. Let's take a look at the facts. Tech stocks are already starting to explode. Zscaler, a small software company based out of San Jose, California, has already gone up over 160%. Or a tiny data intelligence company that you've probably never heard of called Domo that's already surged 337% in just a few weeks. Or lastly, Veritone, an artificial intelligence firm with partnerships with professional sports teams, federal government agencies, and police departments, who recently saw a 750% increase in just the past few months. We're talking about a massive 1,244% return on your investment in only months from just these 3 tech stocks. Enough money to turn a tiny $1,000 into $12,440. Can you imagine if you invested $10,000? A $124,400 payday just from making a few quick and simple trades. Life-changing money. But as you'll see today, these returns are just the beginning. The biggest and quickest tech returns are about to explode in the next few weeks because the convergence of 3 special economic triggers will cause the biggest explosion of tech stocks that the US has ever seen. And it's already moving extremely fast. That's what today's broadcast is all about. Welcome you to what will forever be known in history books as America's Tech Boom 2.0. Last time something like this happened was in the 1990s, and more than $10 trillion in stock market wealth surged through the hands of investors. But what we're seeing now could stand to be much, much bigger. Now this goes without saying, but if you can capture just a tiny fraction of those gains, your life will change dramatically. It could mean the difference between putting off retirement or quitting work early, staying home another winter, or traveling with loved ones to an exotic location around the world. It can also mean no mortgage, no having to worry about being able to pay expensive hospital bills, or it could simply mean purchasing that vacation home that you've always dreamed of. What you do with your profits is up to you, but my point is the right investment made at the right time makes all the difference in the world. You just need to get it right once. Look, I've been pretty fortunate over my career. I've helped many individuals achieve freedom in their lives. In fact, during the first tech boom in the late 1990s, Tony from North Carolina followed one of my recommendations. He turned $20,000 into around $100,000 in just a couple years' time. Here's what he had to say. Chris told me to buy a company called Teletech during the first tech boom in the late 1990s. It was trading at about $10. I bought 2,000 shares and the stock quickly went from 10 to 20, quickly. I held it. Needless to say, I made a lot of money. I was able to buy a house thanks to Chris. That was Tony D. I'm truly humbled by this story because Tony took a stake in a company that I recommended before the tech boom. He was able to buy his dream house for his family. And today, nearly 2 decades later, you could do the same. Let me show you exactly what's happening and the steps that you should take today to set yourself up to make a fortune during the biggest money-making event in 20 years. I'll show you exactly how to piggyback off the billionaire elites' massive investments into the technology sector, where the biggest gains are already happening, where US News reports technology stocks have been incredibly resilient in one of the worst economic environments the United States has ever seen. Market Insider reports America's billionaires added $282 billion to their total wealth in 23 days. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, because today, you'll also get an unfiltered look at what's really happening under the roots of the US financial system. The convergence of 3 economic triggers secretly being used to push the tech stock market to unprecedented and historic levels, creating this no-fail tech boom. and why on April 27, 2021, we could see the biggest stock buying frenzy in US history, all from one secret meeting being held inside this building in New York. You'll also discover the exact stocks names and ticker symbols in my top buy alert, 100% free today. Investments where I'll prove to you billions of smart money is flowing into as we speak. But if you want to understand what's happening and how to be on the wealthy side of history, we need to take a step back and look at the past, because the last time this rare event happened was in 1999. You might not realize it, but history is being made as we speak. We've only experienced something similar once in the last 20 years, and even then it pales in comparison to what's happening right now. And it sent tech stocks on an absolute rampage. But to get the true and full understanding, we need to take a look back to when this incredible event first happened. Take a look at this chart. What you're seeing is one of the biggest bull runs in US history, the tech boom in the 1990s, an era of complete and utter technological disruption. Over $10 trillion surged into the US stock market, exchanging through the hands of everyday Americans and hedge funds alike. To put this massive number into perspective, we're talking about more money than the combined economies of Germany, India, and the UK. You can see this breakout market started back around 1995, and everyday investors had the chance to make a killing. But the best and largest gains didn't come until the last year leading up to the peak of the bull market. You can see on this graph that I've highlighted the steepest incline, where the graph basically shoots straight up, parabolic. This is the last 2 years of the tech boom where everyday Americans saw their biggest and most aggressive gains, where Cisco Systems saw a 475% gain in under 2 years, turning every $5,000 invested into a massive $28,750. Microsoft made 580% in just 2 years, enough to turn every $5,000 investment into a life-changing $34,000. Applied Technologies went up 866% in just 2 years' time, turning every $5,000 into $48,300. Qualcomm went up 2,600% in under 12 months' time, turning every $5,000 sum invested into $135,000. You ever heard of a little company called Amazon? Investors who got in before tech stocks skyrocketed had the chance to see a 2,550% gain on their money in just 24 months, which turned every $5,000 into $127,500. I'm proud and a bit humbled to say I not only picked the last three, but that I bought them as a Wall Street investor and personally made millions because of it. Now, it's important to note, these gains didn't take 10 years or 3 decades. In fact, if you would have put $5,000 into each of these 4 tech stocks, you could have cashed out with $246,050 in just 2 short years. These massive gains were all made possible because of the convergence of 3 economic triggers that I'll reveal in a moment. The same triggers in the 1990s tech boom where everyday Americans got rich for just pennies on the dollar. The same ones that are happening right now. Listen to this story that Forbes reported back in 1999. Nicholas Burbis, a 25-year-old waiter from Queens, my hometown, managed to turn $1,200 into $100,000 in just 2 months. She even made $21,000 in a single day when she bought a tiny tech stock, Soaring, from $10 a share to $59 a share in just 2 hours. But that's not all. New York Times reported on the amazing story of a prison inmate, 90T1282, otherwise known as Michael Matthey, who traded more than $8 million in stocks from 1998 to 1999. He had no internet connection or cell phone. He had his father place the trades for him over the phone while Michael was stuck in his cell. It just goes to show that anyone can get rich when you're trading inside a tech boom like this. But let's take a look at the final year of the tech boom, where the million-dollar fortunes really came from. CNN Money reported on the story of Rosario Maulino, who invested $325,000 on Qualcomm back in 1998. Rosario bought the stock at what seemed to be a high price, $52 a share. Can you guess what happened to this stock in 1999, right before the biggest spike, right before the NASDAQ more than doubled? Rosario walked away with a fortune, an insane 2,619% gain in under 12 months. Qualcomm shot up to $659 per share, and Rosario walked away with a tidy $17 million profit. Not bad for placing one single trade. And if you get in before the final months of America's Tech Boom 2.0, you've got a once-in-a-lifetime buying opportunity for the quickest returns that you may ever see. Just like these everyday Americans did during the first tech boom, this is the power when you're able to get on those insane, rare bull markets even before they go full tilt and explode. And while everybody is freaking out, wondering where the markets are currently at and where they're headed, they're letting the most profitable event of their lifetime slip by. And it's no surprise why Americans are skeptical of what's happening, because mainstream news elites are misleading Americans, causing them to miss out on America's Tech Boom 2.0. How is anyone supposed to time the stock market when you flip on the news and you're blasted with mixed messages by mainstream news media? It keeps people just like you in a state of paralysis where you're told to get out of stocks now and you end up missing out on life-changing events. Just take a look at these headlines. Markets plunge as global recession appears almost inevitable. The stock market is tanking. Do nothing. Dow skids into bear market, heralding an uncertain future. From those headlines, what do you think most Americans did? If you were like most, you took your money out of the markets and you sat on the sidelines and just watched. But guess what ended up happening to the tech sector shortly after all this negative press? The NASDAQ climbed 73%, nearly 3/4 increase in its value in just months. This is the exact same thing that happened in the late 1990s with the first tech boom. The NASDAQ took a massive drop of 20.5% right before its massive explosion, surging an insane 205% to its peak. But what you really need to understand is what's usually done in decades has been accomplished in just months, which means that there's still time to get in before it goes completely parabolic, just like it did in the first tech boom in the 1990s. And the reason for these major historical surges in the stock market value, the reason this America's Tech Boom 2.0 will surge even higher from here, it all stems from a convergence of 3 rare economic triggers happening right now. Problem is, you would normally never hear about the things that I exposed today. Mainstream media is doing a huge disservice to every single American out there looking to escape their 9-to-5 jobs and make some money. And this is all while the rich and in-the-know elite are cashing out big. You're left in the dust, bombarded with misinformation, and worrying about keeping your finances afloat, and it's just not fair. It's not your fault. This is why I'm giving you backroom information to this untold story. I'm not beholden to any kind of major corporation with intentions to keep these secrets under wraps. Today's broadcast is independently funded, and I don't take any cash from advertisers, which may influence anything that you're going to discover here today. Listen, I've personally experienced how investing during a massive market event can change your life forever. In fact, I became a millionaire on Wall Street during the first tech boom in the 90s. I already showed you several stocks that I bought and sold for massive gains in just a couple years. But there were a couple others that still stand out in my mind. For instance, when I started buying tech stocks, Extended Systems, which was XTND, at the time it was only trading for $5 a share, and in just a few months it had jumped from $5 to $45 a share, almost 10xing my money. But I decided to hold it because all signs were showing that tech stocks were going to go even higher. One day I remember I went out for lunch and I came back. The stock had gone from $45 to $135 in just a couple hours. So I sold it for a gain of 2,600%, and I personally made $250,000 in a single day. As impressive and thrilling as that wasn't even my biggest winner during the first tech boom. When I invested in the stock DoubleClick in 1998, the stock went from 8 to 130 in under 2 years, and I personally cashed out with over $1 million from this one single stock. That's more money than most people make in a lifetime. You see, I'm not telling you all this to brag. I'm trying to show you the right investment at the right time can pay for your entire retirement. And just like I was able to make millions during the first tech boom 20 years ago, I believe America's Tech Boom 2.0 will turn everyday investors into multimillionaires in record time. But you're going to have to act fast if you want to make the biggest life-changing gains, because I believe the convergence of 3 economic triggers will mint more millionaires in the next couple years than any other time in modern history. Let's start with the first economic trigger. America's Tech Boom 2.0 trigger number 1 is infinite money printing. A complete and utter tidal wave of small business bankruptcies loom. As a Harvard study reveals, over 100,000 small businesses have already permanently closed their doors. And even though it appears that our economy has recovered, there will be many, many more of those to come. In fact, Americans have already skipped payments on more than 100 million loans, with projections to triple in just a few months. Yet, even with all this, the Tech Boom 2.0 can't be stopped. And it's thanks to an emergency event which took place in a coveted New York building with America's elite on March 23rd, all when a private group of 12 of the most powerful men and women in the global economy met in person to discuss their next unprecedented plan for America's stock market. You've probably never heard of them, and you most definitely have never elected them. These elite members are unelected officials who run the money supply of the United States, the very dollar sitting in your pocket right now. They're called the Federal Reserve, a central bank for the United States. Though they're not an official U.S. institution, and they've publicly admitted they're not owned by anyone. But what came from their emergency meeting will forever change the U.S. economy and the lives of every American citizen for decades to come. On March 23rd, 2020, they officially announced that they're going nuclear with what's called infinite printing of money. Just look at these headlines. Why the Fed went nuclear with QE infinity. Fed saying aggressive action is needed to start unlimited QE, which is quantitative easing. The Fed's message, money printing presses are fired up and ready to go. And when the Fed has unlimited money to print, what happens? Stock market assets skyrocket because this infinite money drips down to national banks, gets lent to hedge funds and Wall Street, and rocketed into the stock market, propping up the stock market with no limit in sight. And guess where all those hedge funds are putting their billions? The tech sector. Just like Fortune says here, low rates and money printing programs artificially boost asset values, take advantage of record highs in the stock market. All this is all because of the Fed's behind-the-scenes decision made on March 23rd, 2020. But the point that I want to make is the Federal Reserve simply won't let the value of these stock assets fall. In fact, they will continue to climb higher than ever. One member of the Federal Reserve admitted that they have no limit of cash. Look at this quote, "We have infinite cash." That was by Neil Kashkari of the Minneapolis Federal Reserve. And the man in charge, the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, recently said, "We're not out of ammunition, not by a long shot, no limit. So there's a lot more that we can do to support the economy." Just take a look at how much money they've already pumped into the markets. Over $7 trillion in just a matter of a few months. And as admitted by the Federal Reserve's chairman, there's, quote, "no limit to what they will do." In fact, this is just the beginning of the money printing. Bloomberg recently released this headline, which reads, "A $10 trillion Fed balance sheet is coming." But here's where it gets even more bizarre. Not only has the Fed announced infinite printing of money to prop up the stock market, they even took it a step further. They've dropped interest rates to practically nothing. Take a look. Interest rates have flatlined. Interest rates are 47.8 times lower than they were just a year ago, and sitting at the lowest point they've ever been at in history. And take a look at this. You can see throughout history, the Fed has cut interest rates all the way down to zero. And every time these interest rate cuts were made, the S&P skyrocketed higher in the coming months. Every single time throughout history without fail. So what do you think will happen now that these interest rates are cut nearly to zero? The stock market will climb even higher. Even JP Morgan, America's biggest bank, has been noted saying the markets could still rise another 47% from right now. That is a bold statement from a big bank like JP Morgan. Near 0% interest rates and infinite money printing is about to start a buying frenzy in markets unlike we've ever seen before. But this is just one of the pieces to the puzzle, which brings us to the second trigger. Because of these historic actions taken by the Federal Reserve, investors will have no choice but to buy stocks. Let me show you why. Trigger number 2. Domestic and global investors will have no choice but to buy stocks, and it's already happening. Maybe you're unfamiliar with the term, but there's a phrase coined TINA market, T-I-N-A, market. Now, a TINA market exists only under the conditions that we've been talking about here today. Mass printing of money by the Federal Reserve, central banks cutting interest rates to the lowest that they've been in U.S. history. But what happens when we see worldwide interest rates drop? Investors across the globe receive little returns on their bonds and other investments and are practically forced to flood into the U.S. stock market, creating an absolute frenzy of returns. Take a look at what's recently happened. The Nasdaq has soared while the value of global bonds has fallen to historic lows. Essentially, investors are forced to go back into the U.S. stock market to see equal or better returns on their investments, thus pushing stock prices even higher, leading to a TINA market standing for there is no alternative. Investors have little or no alternative other than to flood U.S. stocks and push values higher. Just look back at the time that this economic trigger hit back in 1999. Interest rates dropped 4 times lower. This meant that there was little to no alternative other than investors to flood into the U.S. stock market. And just look at what happened, an absolute boom in stock prices. And now with interest rates at all-time historic lows, there's no telling how much money could flood into markets in the coming weeks. But it's not just global investors who are going to push the stock market even higher. We're currently seeing a flood of domestic, everyday Americans buying stocks en masse. Go to your local grocery store, your barber. Just simply walk down the street and you will hear people asking about the next hot stock to buy, when to get in, the profits they've already made, and so on. And it's no surprise. Stockbrokers like TD Ameritrade and E-Trade have seen a 150% spike in new users during the first quarter, adding over 971,000 new accounts. Robinhood Broker Account has seen over 3 million new customers and active usage of over 2 million daily users. But this is just the beginning. Take a look at this headline from Barron's. It says Robinhood's user base is still growing. In fact, even the online search term buy stocks has smashed record highs. Take a look at this. Google searches for buy stocks up by 466% worldwide. Millions of everyday Americans are flooding in, and millions of global investors are flooding in. And this is exactly what happened in the first tech boom over 20 years ago. A massive swarm of everyday people looking to get rich. As Forbes says, online accounts total will grow to 17 million. We're at a point right now where the demand is so intense for a limited number of tech stocks. Even billionaire bond king Jeffrey Gundlach is saying, I'm happy to watch other people push the stock market even higher from here. And right now, that's exactly what's already happening. As everyday Americans continue to see the rising nature of the stock market, more and more will hop in on this once-in-a-lifetime moment, because the last time we saw retail investors pile in, like we're seeing right now, was back in 1999 when we saw the Nasdaq rise over 99%, and several stocks turn everyday investors into millionaires in record time. And if you can get in on the right stocks that are set to soar from this outpouring of investors flooding into the markets, you could walk away with a generational fortune. But it doesn't even end here. There's one more trigger which will cause an inevitable tech boom 2.0. America's tech boom 2.0 trigger number 3 is the digital revolution. You may have noticed the rise of new trends across America, especially in the last few months and years. It's because a major transition is happening. The new world's being created right before our eyes, the fourth industrial revolution. The massive rise and adoptions of new digital technologies set to take control and change the way we live. And unless you've been living under a rock, you've definitely noticed these changes. I mean, just look around. Amazon and online retailers have taken over the world. Global online retail is projected to hit $6.54 trillion by 2022, all while major brick and mortar retailers are already filing for bankruptcy in huge waves. GNC, JCPenney, Neiman Marcus, J.Crew, 24 Hour Fitness, and that's just the start. Hundreds more major retailers already set to announce bankruptcy in the coming months. Uber and Lyft have taken over and demolished the taxi and car rental industry in foul swoop. Thank goodness. Taxi services have plunged to just 5% market share, as Uber and Lyft have soared to 72.5% market domination. Netflix, Hulu, and streaming services are single-handedly taking down one of the biggest corporate conglomerates, the cable companies, with an expected loss of over 50 million paid cable subscriptions by 2025. Amazing. As online streaming services have already surpassed over 126 million subscriptions. Google has monopolized and monetized big data, giving you access to anything that you could ever want to view, learn, or watch within seconds. No longer are the days of having to go to the library and check out a book, take hours reading just to find the info you're looking for. Now, just a simple search away from learning almost anything that you can imagine. And this kind of technological revolution is the same mania which set off a thunderstorm of stock market returns back in the 90s during America's first tech boom. This is when access to the internet expanded and computers took on a larger role in America, and so did new online companies and retailers, with the creation of companies that you use today like Amazon, eBay, Match.com, MapQuest, WebMD, and a bunch more. And not to mention thousands of new smaller startups receiving tens of millions of dollars in new free funding from Wall Street. Just like what's happening now with the Federal Reserve printing unlimited money, propping up the stock market's value, forcing stock values to grow extraordinarily quickly, just like the first tech boom in 1999. But that market was driven by nothing but excitement and new money. And there was a complete and utter frenzy on the NASDAQ. Stock values surged higher than ever before, reaching almost 2,200 points in January of 99, reaching an all-time high in March of 2000 of 5,048. And the smaller technology stocks, they surged higher than ever before. We're talking about the biggest and fastest gains you've ever seen. One tiny outdoors tech company called Claris Corp surged an impressive 1,805% in just months. That's 18 times your investment. Or Juniper Networks, a tiny tech company that provides networking and management software that made 1,457% gains in around 1 year's time, over 14 times your money. Or finally, Ciena Corp, another networking systems and software service, who pulled off a 3,855% gain in just 9 months. That's more than 38 times your money. And these are just a few examples of the power of investing in tiny stocks during major tech booms. Had you invested just a small $1,000 into each one of those, you would have pulled away with $213,510. Life-changing money in just months. And we're seeing the same exact pattern play out right now in 2021. And from the rare convergence of these three economic triggers, I believe this tech boom 2.0 will be much, much bigger than anything we've ever seen. Not to mention, with the global pandemic and new changes to the economy, this new digital world is being accelerated much faster than we thought, faster than ever. Digital retailing is the new normal. Food deliveries, toiletries, anything you want is delivered straight to your doorstep in an instant. Chatbots and robotic technologies have picked up the slack at call centers and factories. With the robotics industry now set to rise to 25% year over year until 2025, telemedicine is the new norm, with a 500% increase already happening during the current pandemic. The list goes on and on of these new tech disruptors killing age-old industries, and they're only going to continue to dominate from here on out. To put things into perspective, look at the value of the biggest tech companies. Facebook, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Nvidia, they've hit all-time record highs. They've already soared to a $6.4 trillion market cap between them. This is equal to the combined GDP of Germany and Italy. Yahoo Finance recently published an article saying Goldman Sachs Group notes that these tech leaders have added more than a third to their market values this year, despite the sharpest recession since the Great Depression. And what we're seeing is absolute market-proof domination in the tech sector. Barron's reports tech stocks are Teflon in a weak economy. Big tech earnings shine. And as we continue to see this trillion-dollar shift to massive adoption of new digital technologies, tech will only continue to soar from here, especially in the coming weeks. Point being, tech stocks are outperforming everything else in the stock market far and away. And had you invested a tiny $100 into each of these 6 tech stocks from the beginning, it would be worth $2,661,545.16 right now. But here's the catch. The small tech companies are where all the real money will be made. And they're already starting to explode. But the biggest tech stock returns have yet to come as we enter the final stage of the tech boom 2.0, where we will see an absolute mad rush into stocks, pushing them much, much higher. And if you know the exact tech disruptors to invest in, and you get in early, you could walk away with a fortune in the coming weeks and months. It'll be like getting in on Uber or Amazon or Nvidia and more when they were just a few dollars. But before I reveal the hottest tiny tech stocks set to explode, I want to give you an opportunity to get in on the inside track on one of the best investments of 2021, 100% free. And not a lot of people have ever even heard of it, but it's gone on an absolute rampage since the Fed had their secret meeting back in March of 2020. Take a look. 60% gain in just a few months, and the surge has only just begun. I fully expect this ETF to moonshot as we enter in the final stage of this tech boom where the most explosive gains happen. Wall Street has already begun to take notice, and they're stockpiling into this investment at a rapid pace. Morgan Stanley just piled in $3 billion. Bank of America is in for $3.25 billion. Goldman Sachs, they invested $5.5 billion. Consider this as a basket, which then holds the world's most valuable tech innovation companies. I'm talking about Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Google, Intel, Cisco, Comcast, and a lot more. Instead of investing into each of these stocks, which would currently cost more than $5,237 for a tiny one share of each, there's a much, much better way. A single way to buy virtually all of the major players in tech leading current innovations in just one single trade. And you can do it for 21 times less than what it would normally cost you. It's called the QQQ ETF. And you can buy it right now in every single major brokerage account. And I fully believe that this technology basket holder could be one of the best and safest investments as we enter into the final stage of this America's tech boom 2.0. I wouldn't be surprised to see it climb another 60% higher from here, which would grab you over 6 times the gains that Wall Street makes in an entire year. It's a great ETF to buy now at dirt cheap prices and hide it away for a few years as it continues to give you stable growth. And while that's nothing to scoff at, I've identified and I've targeted 3 tiny tech disruptor stocks set to explode for gains that we may never see again for decades to come, potentially massive returns as we enter the final stage of America's tech boom 2.0. But before I give you more details, it's important to know why these stocks are set to explode as soon as April 27th. Now, as I've shown you here today, the Federal Reserve has announced their infinite money printing program, the biggest in U.S. history. This decision was made inside a coveted Federal Reserve building in New York City on March 23rd, 2020 at 8 a.m. And I fully believe that this is just the beginning. The money printing will only surge from here on out, pushing the value of stocks to unprecedented levels. Jerome Powell, the Fed's chairman, says they are, quote, committed to using the Fed's full range of tools to support the economy in this challenging time. Even a recent NPR article said, corporate America, on the other hand, is getting basically an unlimited credit line from the Federal Reserve. The Fed, which is working in conjunction with the Treasury Department, has promised to buy trillions and trillions of dollars in corporate bonds. Access to the Fed's unlimited money-creating machine. And this money will get rocketed into the stock market, making tiny tech stocks explode to new historic levels. So if they announce additional rounds of money printing on April 27th, which I believe they will, it could trigger a buying frenzy in the stock market like we've never seen before. It'll be like a mad rush of people running into stores on Black Friday, and those who are already prepared and are bought in will be able to reap the rewards of getting in early. But to give you an idea of how much this buying frenzy can push stocks, last time new money printing struck, here's what happened the very next day. 15% on Extreme Networks, 23% on CommScope, 34% in DXC, and even 40% on NVE Corp. Keep in mind, these are not gains that have accumulated over the course of a year, over a few months, not even a few weeks. These are one-day gains that occurred just hours after the money printing struck. In fact, these gains beat out the S&P's historic yearly return in just one single day, even by a factor of 4 times. And this is just the beginning. But it's coming soon. And if you miss this buying frenzy, you may never see one like it again. We are witnessing a rare money-making event we haven't seen for over 20 years. Who knows when you'll get another opportunity like this one again? But do not rush to buy every tech stock on the market. This is very important, so listen up. Do you want the real truth? The truth you won't hear from mainstream media or mainstream investing services? There are tons of technology stocks out there that are utter BS. And those companies will go straight to zero, bankrupt. Honestly, there will only be a small handful of tiny tech stocks that are going to soar from the convergence of these 3 economic triggers on April 27th. Tech stocks that will set the new standard for the digital world, creating life-changing advances that will directly impact every single American. The tiny tech stocks that are only trading for cents on the dollar right now, but could explode in the coming weeks. But you don't have any time to waste, and I've precisely targeted 3 of these tiny tech stocks ready to surge. So Tech Boom 2.0, investment number 1. Position yourself in front of a massive mega trend. One of the best things that you could possibly do as an investor is position yourself in front of a massive, inevitable, and booming trend, especially during a tech boom, one that looks like this. Although you won't hear about this in many places, the IoT market is growing fast and projected to be worth $1.6 trillion by 2026. IoT's Internet Business of Things means a network of gadgets and appliances that are connected by the internet and can communicate amongst themselves. Just one example of IoT technology would be Amazon's Alexa. But that's just scratching the surface of what's coming in the next few months. This is an amazing boom, quietly taking place and rapidly growing day by day. Just like the boom that took place in the first tech boom during the 90s when the internet first came onto the scene. And internet companies went from trading from pennies on the dollar to hundreds of dollars in just a few months. And I've identified an IoT company well under $10 that'll be at the forefront of this new digital revolution. In fact, the company's revenue is up a massive 71% from a year ago, and the stock is up just 30% in the past 5 months. And I expect it to absolutely soar in value in months to come. And I'm going to show you a way to get all the details and the ticker symbol in just a moment so that you can access it immediately. And that brings me to investment number 2. Tech Boom 2.0. Investment number 2 is own the most in-demand technology in the world. People don't know this, but we rely on semiconductor chips at home and outside in the world every single day. Semiconductors are in your washing machine, smart TVs, refrigerators, smartphones, laptops, they're in everything. Semiconductors are the electronic material that works best when heat, light, and voltage are added. Just like steel pushed forward in the first industrial revolution in the 1800s, semiconductors are the digital steel that's going to drive the 4th industrial revolution. And as technology continues to expand, we're going to rely on semiconductors more and more and more. By investing in it right now, investing in it today, you can see incredible returns as we experience Tech Boom 2.0. And I've pinpointed a small semiconductor company that many major tech companies will rely on over the coming years. It's the perfect way to invest in this massive tech revolution coming our way. This investment is up 62% in the past 2 months, and I fully expect it to explode in value in the final stage of this tech boom as it takes place. I'll show you a way to get all the details and the ticker symbol in just a moment. But lastly, let me tell you about the third investment that you should make immediately. Tech Boom 2.0 investment number 3. Own the most important smart car technology. One thing that most people don't understand about investing in a specific sector is you don't want to try and guess which company is going to become the market leader. If that was the case, you would have to invest in hundreds of stocks at once to have a chance at picking the market winner. Let's take 5G just as an example. You can either guess and hope you get lucky investing in every single major company coming out with 5G, or you can invest in the best technology and the critical components that every 5G supplier in the world is going to need. An industry like this, something most investors don't know is that the US automotive software industry is rapidly skyrocketing at this very moment, which makes perfect sense considering cars are getting smarter, safer, and more advanced every single year. This has created a huge opportunity for investors who take notice. So with this third and final stock, I've pinpointed a small company trading for under $15 a share that almost every major automotive company will rely on to produce technological advancements and systems for their vehicles. Fiat, Chrysler, Ford, GM, Nissan, Toyota are just a few of the biggest customers. Because of this new growth, this stock has nearly doubled since August, and I expect that it's going to 10x in value in the months to come. But as I've already explained, when new money printing comes in and creates a rare jump in the prices of these 3 tiny stocks, it'll already be too late for you to profit. So if you want to get in on the biggest and fastest gains, you're going to need to access the names and the ticker symbols of these 3 stocks ASAP. And I've created a special dossier where you can get all the details on all of these. It's called 3 Tiny Stocks Set to Soar from America's Tech Boom 2.0. I will personally break down into detail why these 3 stocks are set to surge, the maximum price that you should pay for these stocks, when to take profits, when to sell, everything you would ever need to know to create your fortune from America's Tech Boom 2.0. I'll show you how to gain private access in just a moment, but I'll make this an even better opportunity for you. I've got an extra few bonuses that can help you make maximum money in the coming weeks, starting with free bonus number 1, the easiest way to collect double-digit returns every single month. Who doesn't want to make more income every single month? I just discovered a remarkably simple method for producing more consistent cash flow from household name dividend stocks. Until recently, this strategy has only been reserved for the wealthiest of investors. In fact, Wall Street banks have used this strategy to keep cash flowing into their accounts month after month, year after year, like clockwork. I put all the details inside a new report called The Safest Way to Collect Double-Digit Returns Every Single Month. I'll show you how to claim this report in just a minute, but first, there's something else that I'd like to give you as well for even more explosive returns, which is free bonus number 2, 5 stocks that will skyrocket in the post-COVID economy. As I mentioned earlier, the recent coronavirus pandemic has only added fuel to the fire of technological advances. So this means that there will be several companies bursting onto the scene that will explode in value in just a few short months, but only the ones that are truly game changers. The one at the very top of my list is a company trading for well under $10 a share. And I truly believe in just a few years, investors will look back and compare it to Apple and Netflix because this tiny company just partnered with Amazon to implement Alexa technology into millions of cars over the next few years. You'd better believe that this is a big deal. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw this stock go up 1,000% or more in under a year. But this isn't the only game-changing company that I've identified. I've pinpointed 4 more companies that are on the verge of exploding over the next few months. I'll explain everything that you need to know in my new report called The 5 Stocks Set to Skyrocket in a Post-COVID Economy. I want you to receive all 3 reports that I've promised so far, and it's a $297 value, but I don't want you to pay 1 cent for any of them. All right, you can receive everything that I've promised with a risk-free subscription to my flagship weekly trading service, Sector Focus. My mission in this weekly research is very simple: to help everyday folks safely grow their wealth as fast as humanly possible. To do this, I spend 6 figures or more every single year on raw stock market data that helps me see which sectors of the market Wall Street banks and huge hedge funds are piling money into. I mean, I analyze 2,116 individual data points every single day to figure out which sectors are set to explode. Then I single out the strongest stocks and ETFs in those sectors to buy at that specific time. Here's just a snapshot of some of the stocks that are recommended in Sector Focus recently. 301% from Jinko Solar, 374% from Iridium Communications, 646% from Advanced Micro Devices, and a massive 824% from Kirkland Lake Gold. These are real trades that my readers had the opportunity to cash out of in just the last few months. And if you decide to take a risk-free trial of Sector Focus, you're going to have dozens and dozens of these opportunities to get into life-changing trades like the ones that I just showed you. Each week, I will spoon-feed you exactly what to buy, and when to sell. That way, there's no guesswork involved, and you're not left wondering what to do. And it's really important to note, this is going to be the only place to receive my weekly issues and buy alerts. Right here. This service will not be available anywhere else in the world at any price. Once you agree to a risk-free trial subscription, I'm going to send you everything else that I mentioned today for free, no charge. As soon as you claim this free package, you'll also gain access to my brand new sector commentary video that reveals the top sectors to profit off of this month. With all these resources, I am confident that you're going to be able to protect and grow your wealth in the coming years, no matter what happens to the economy or the stock market. But don't just take my word for it. Here's what some of my readers are saying. I've been around Chris for many years, and this is absolutely the best. Love the sector-focused approach. The light bulb has finally gone on. Right now, making gobs of money. That was Blaze, who has the coolest name that I've ever seen. Chris, you've changed my perception of the markets forever, and I've not only been able to make money, I may be able to trade full time. That's Navindra. Chris did a great job teaching me about the real market. I've doubled my 401k holdings in 5 years. Couldn't have done it without Chris. That's John S. Look, I am humbled that my work is already helping many everyday folks protect and grow their wealth. And I'm super confident that I can help you do the same thing. Just like I did for John W. John says, having lost my job in January, I paid some of my end of service money into my trading account and have doubled that value in 1 month. I'm so grateful, Chris, John W. And Bez, who wrote in to say, I want to thank you all for the great advice that you've given me over the years. My wife and I have retired comfortably, travel, and enjoy life. Thank you for the great advice over the years. That's from Bez. And look at what Jay has been able to do since he found me. He says, I love this service. I've made more money in a shorter time than I thought possible. I've made $79,600 year to date. That's JW. These are just regular folks who choose to follow me and Sector Focus. And now they're making enough money to live comfortably. Hedge funds have paid me tens of thousands of dollars a pop for my advisory services. But don't worry, Sector Focus is not going to cost anywhere near that. I'm going to give you more details in just a minute. I'll lay out everything that you get when you join Sector Focus as well. And as soon as you take me up on this risk-free trial to Sector Focus, I'm going to send you these reports right away. Okay, so here's everything that you get today. Special dossier, 3 tiny stocks set to soar from America's tech boom 2.0. And it's bonus gift number 1, which is the easiest way to collect double-digit returns every single month. Bonus gift number 2, the 5 stocks set to skyrocket in a post-COVID economy. And then a 1-year membership to Sector Focus. An average of 10 sector-focused trades every single month. Now, I don't know of a research service anywhere that gives this many profit opportunities at this price. On average, you're going to get 10 trade opportunities per month, most of the time even more than that. You get an exclusive market and sector analysis. Each week, you're going to hear from me and my team as we break down what's happening in the markets and reveal which sectors are about to skyrocket. Our featured sector of the month video, typically released in the first week of each month. Now, we let you know where we believe we're going to see the biggest market moves every single month, and you typically get a handful of stocks with that video. You also get ETFs and even options plays in this video alone. 24/7 access to our members-only website. So when you log in to the True Market Insider's site, you're going to get instant access to the private members area. Your sector-focused portal gives you fast, easy access to everything that you need to build a fortune in the stock market. So how much does this trial membership cost? Membership to Sector Focus has a published price of $336 for 12 months. And I think that's already a great deal, considering that you're going to get access to a Wall Street millionaire and investor who's been investing client money for over 25 years, as well as the fact that you could very well make that money back within your first week, maybe in your first trade. But because you decided to listen to today's special presentation of America's Tech Boom 2.0, I really want to make this a no-brainer for you. So I lowered the price to the absolute bare bones minimum, price that would just cover the cost of keeping this page online, frankly. And that's just $79. Not $79 a month, $79 for the entire year. That comes out to 21 cents a day. 21 cents for you to get direct access to a Wall Street veteran. I'm sorry, but if you don't think that's fair, you're probably not serious enough. In fact, this is such a crazy good deal that you're probably wondering, why is this so cheap? The reason's simple. You probably don't know me yet. And despite everything that I've shown you here today, despite starting on Wall Street at the age 17, despite my track record making millions in the stock market, despite all my followers who are already making a fortune, I understand that I need to earn your trust first. I get it. So I don't want price to even be an issue. In fact, I don't want you to take any risks at all today. So what I'm doing is I'm giving you 60 days just to go out and test drive Sector Focus. That's right. You can try everything that I've just mentioned here today for the next 60 days. And if for any reason at all you don't think my strategy is life-changing, just call our customer service. You'll get all your money back right away. And here's the best part. Even if you cancel, you'll still get to keep all the bonuses that I mentioned earlier. You could literally sign up today, and if you're not happy, cancel the next day and get your money back and keep everything. Like I said, no risk to you whatsoever. I'm doing all of this because I know that once you give this a shot, once you start seeing how much money you can make, I'm confident that you're going to be hooked. This is your one-time opportunity to get everything that I've mentioned here today for just 21 cents per day. Look, if you've sat on the sidelines during every major bull market in history, then this will be the biggest opportunity in your life. As I've mentioned today, we haven't seen a once-in-a-lifetime event like this for over 20 years, a rare convergence of 3 virtually bulletproof economic triggers driving tech stocks higher from here. Remember, this is exactly how I personally made millions of dollars over 20 years ago when I bought Amazon in '97 and made a 2,100% return in under 2 years, or when I bought Qualcomm and I made a 2,600% gain in under 12 months, and when I made more than 13 times my money on Corning in just 2 years' time. At the end of the day, I can only give you the facts and let you decide, but the truth of the matter is, if you let this special event pass, you may never see it again in your lifetime. The choice is yours. And for just 21 cents per day, $79 risk-free for an entire year, I believe it's a complete no-brainer for you. Especially when you consider that just one tiny tech stock from my complete analysis of the 3 could make you an absolute fortune in just the coming weeks. But you're going to have to act before January 26th if you want to make the biggest gains possible during the tech boom 2.0. As always, that's your choice to make. I know you're going to make the right decision for yourself and your family. I can't wait to see you on the inside. So just click the button below this video that says next step. See you soon.